Please welcome Douglas Robison and Jared Shaffer.
Miles and miles of Texas, all the stars up in the sky. I saw miles and miles of Texas, gonna live here till I die.
All right, with that intro, I started dancing to that song 25 years ago at Bigger in Dallas in Lubbock, Texas. And if you haven't seen Asleep at the Wheel's new tour, I highly recommend it. Riding High in Texas, that's a great song. Jared, everybody here is here because you're speaking. They're still here, and they're going to hang on every word. It's been a great summit. I'm going to introduce him and then kind of give you the mic. We have some questions we talked about beforehand, but I'd like for you to do as much talking as possible.
Understood.
And then we can, so you take this conversation any direction you want to go. So let me give a brief introduction. Jared Shaffer was appointed the director of the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Office. TENEO is what you're calling it. Is that?
TENEO.
TENEO?
Yeah.
Okay. By Texas Governor Greg Abbott on September 18, 2025. Prior to this appointment, he also served as budget and policy advisor to Governor Abbott on electricity and energy issues. Previously, Jared served as committee director for the Texas House Committee on State Affairs for Representative Chris Patty, the Committee of Jurisdiction for post-Winter Storm Uri reforms. He has served as legislative liaison for the Texas Department of Transportation, senior policy analyst for State Senator Brian Birdwell, a program specialist for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and an assistant committee clerk for Representative Tan Parker. Additionally, Shaffer served abroad in Spain, teaching English, and volunteered with, I'm not going to try to pronounce this, it's in Spanish, to build permanent housing while studying abroad in Argentina. Jared received a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and Global Studies in Government with minors in Spanish and Latin American Studies from the University of Texas at Austin. And understand that Texas A&M is wanting you to enroll in their nuclear engineering program now. So that's an impressive resume, Jared. I don't know if I'm the first to call you Director Shaffer, but you have that title now, and we're incredibly excited. As I said, before we get into any prepared questions, the floor is yours to talk about. I know you've been here at this summit for a couple of days. Any reflections, thoughts, anything you'd like to share, and then we'll move on from there.
Well, thank you, and thank you for staying and being here. And it's an honor to share the stage with Doug, and what Natura is doing out there is incredible. Just another successful story of what we do here in Texas. Before I kind of jump in and just freestyle my remarks, because this is first time up in front of people, I'd like to take a moment and just kind of like recognize and appreciate how well done this summit was. Like Lauren and Reed and Andrew, really well done. And I was thinking about it too. I was like, I bet everybody's benefiting from this and really learning a lot and meeting a lot of new people. And then I took a step back and I was like, I'm benefiting the most. I'm meeting all of you. I'm understanding your areas of specialty, thinking about how we can partner together in this new role of mine. So a little bit about me. As Doug said, I'm Texas born and raised. I've been real fortunate to work for some tremendous bosses, and most recently and currently Governor Abbott. About 2.5 years ago, maybe three, we started kind of reviewing some ideas that had been proposed about nuclear industry in Texas, but they're very siloed specific studies. And Governor Abbott, being the forward thinker that he is, kind of took a step back and said, we need to look at the whole thing. We need a comprehensive analysis, study, and recommendations of where and how and what strategies does Texas win in the advanced nuclear space. So Doug, along with Jimmy Glotfelty, did the working group. Tremendous effort, and really laid the foundation and carried the momentum forward of the conversation, which was real critical to House Bill 14. So pass House Bill 14, and here I am, 2.5 weeks in. I don't have a business card. I don't have a phone number. But it's great. So where are we going? What are my immediate first steps? What's kind of the vision? And I want to preface everything with, I'm 2.5 weeks in, so don't hold me to anything. But kind of this is where I'm thinking vision-wise. So House Bill 14 creates these 2 grant programs. Well, technically 3, but we have $350 million that fund these 2 programs. One, $70 million, the other one's $280 million. This first bucket of money, it's pretty open-ended. You know, it's project site development, it's supply chain, workforce. So the way that I've been thinking about that program is, as the excitement in this room moves forward with work on the ground, this program could be my incubator. It's the market telling me where do they think that Texas is competitive. So I'm also going to use this program to identify themes of where Texas is strong, where we're not, and then aggressively compete where our strengths are. And everything comes back to, how can I use $350 million for the betterment of this state and the Texans that live in it? Like, this is my guiding vision. So as you go to apply to this grant programs, that's what I'm looking for. How does Texas not only win and lead, how can we help support you, but how do the people of Texas benefit most? So that's kind of the first program, right? The second program's a little bit more long lead time components. You can get up to $120 million. You gotta be docketed at the NRC in order to be eligible for that one. What I've heard is a constant theme throughout my conversations today is, this summit has been, it's now. And I firmly believe that. I'm like, it's now or never. Like, the enthusiasm is palpable, the Capitol is interested, and the state of Texas is your partner. And so what we have is the same goal and pace of goal. Speed. How much money can I get out of the door as quickly as possible? And I think that that's kind of what this industry is looking for. Texas will be the leader. Do we know where and what spaces? No, but we've got the Rellis campus. We've got Natura. We've got Dow and X Energy. We've got our higher ed institutions. We've got our JUCOs. We've got a workforce that's oil and gas dominant that can pivot and start creating the ecosystem. How much of the ecosystem can we bring to Texas? Because we're not going to compete in our market. I know that. But if we bring enough of it to Texas, it'll make business sense for your projects to have more projects in Texas. We'll train your workforce in partnership with industry, with our education agencies. Part of my role too on the workforce is I'm singularly focused on nuclear energy workforce development. That's gonna be my role. I'm gonna work with TWC, the Workforce Commission, Texas Education Agency, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board. But my role in all this is nuclear industry. They've got much broader, responsibilities and focuses, but that'll be something that I'm gonna continually drive for. And part of the assignment is a strategic plan, a biennial strategic plan. And what I wanna do is create the most comprehensive statewide plan, K through 12. How do we use our military base installations? How do we partner with DOD in all of our respective areas? Or how do we've got assets here. How can this office help achieve our partner's mission? Like, my message to you today is, in Teneo, is partnership. We are your partner. We want you to win. We want you to win in Texas, so Texas can continue to set the example and do what it does best and lead. And that's what we're gonna try to do with this $350 million. And we're gonna spend as much as we can so we can go get some more, as you heard Representative Cody Harris say. So we have aligned interests. Look at me as a partner. I'm looking at you as a partner. I'm thinking there's all these areas of focus, and I've got 6 employees. So I'm gonna need some working group, an advisory committee on workforce development, on the fuel cycle, you know, uranium down in South Texas, all the way to putting it into Comanche Peak. Like, I need this area of focus because I want the state to clearly identify where its strengths are. I want this office to also serve as the one point of contact for any project development. I want this office to be understanding that we're competing with other states. And where we may be weak and other states are strong, we have other programs in the state of Texas that a project might be eligible for. We want to be your first one-stop shop for, have you heard of the Enterprise Fund? Do you know what Jetty is? So, very much a facilitator. There's a permitting coordinator responsibility assigned to the office as well. And I think that language and statute really just kind of drills home of the overall spirit of what the office is supposed to be. It's not a coordinator, it's an accelerator. This office is how you move through the process quicker. How can we move at the speed of business rather than the government, as Governor Abbott likes to say? This is what my job's focus is to make sure that when you guys are ready to go, we're not standing in your way. You know who you need to talk to. When I'm looking at the application and kind of the scoring rubric of what the programs might look like, I'm still going back to this theme of how does Texas and Texans benefit? So what I want to see also is, are you investing in your local development? Are you using a forager in Smithville? Are you working with Texas A&M on development programs? Tell me that. Because that I value, because you're investing in the Texas people, and this is their money. So when considering applying for a grant, know that that's the prism in which that I'm seeing it.
That's great, Jared. Appreciate that. And you've got a room full of people, I'm sure you're aware, that will pitch in and help you out on any of that. So when Governor Abbott created the Advanced Nuclear Working Group, on which I served in September of 2023, I think, or August, he gave us 2 priorities. One was to reinforce the grid with more dispatchable power, very similar to the Texas Energy Fund that came out in 2023. And the second was, how do we capture this industry for Texas? Small modular reactors, advanced nuclear, have one of the advantages, or one of the characteristics is of able to factory build and then ship to wherever. And so just as Detroit became the automotive center, Texas should become the advanced nuclear center. So how do you see Teneo accelerating Texas's leadership, kind of take those second directives first, and what are your key priorities in making that happen, or helping to make that happen?
So what I've been contemplating about this office is what's the short-term vision, what's the midterm vision, and what's the long-term vision? Right now, what it is capturing the spirit and the intrigue that this room has for the state of Texas. How well attended was this? How well informed is everyone in this room? And the panels have been so great. The momentum's here. How do we carry the momentum forward? I've got $350 million, and no other state comes anywhere close. One area that I've got to be diligent on is assessing project viability, because again, this is the Texas people's money. And so I'll be working through understanding, and again, that first project, that grant program, it's super open-ended. It might just be turning dirt or working on your site characterization or early, ESP. I think that the immediate term, if I can get as much money out of the door, that will create further momentum for more intrigue and just continue snowball this. I was here last year and Governor Abbott released the working group report. This year, a year later, look where we're at now. We have $350 million. What about after next session? Like, let's continue to show that this is a diligent investment, this is a timely investment, and go show them that here are the benefits for the state of Texas, either it be jobs, training, workforce procurement, EPC side. How can we pivot oil and gas and encourage them to start, playing in this space? We have all these resources, so how do I use this $350 million best to create that ecosystem and bring as much here of home, one, for the benefit of the people, but two, it probably makes project development considerations much easier if a lot of your costs are closer to home. You don't have to put people in hotels, bring them out from out of state. It's a lost opportunity not only for the state of Texas, but if a developer doesn't have such a high cost of talented, skilled workers, and they're in the community, or they can drive from Austin to College Station, that probably helps the business case for these projects further. So how do I find mutually beneficial relationships and partners in pursuit of advancing the advanced nuclear industry, but more so in the state of Texas?
So this is going to be an unfair question, but you got to see it beforehand since you've been on the job for 2 weeks. What steps have you taken to fulfill House Bill 14? And again, you've been there for 2 weeks. You don't have a phone yet or a business card. And what challenges do you foresee in implementing House Bill 14?
What steps have I taken? I told Lauren I'd speak here. No, I'm learning a lot, right? Because at the end of the day, this is a grant program. How does a grant program work? What are the jobs you need? Who are those people? Hiring is a big focus right now for me. I'm capped at 7 FTEs. I need 2, deputies, so that's the focus right now. We'll get them onboarded. And then once I've got, my deputies, then it's time to talk. And what I'd like to say today, too, is as of today, on the governor's website, there's a new nuclear website. It's not fancy. It's got a cool emblem, but that's about it. But on there's going to be a way to submit your email, and really it's for me. I'm going to create this as my email distribution list initially until I have someone that can think about how we want to communicate with industry. So if you're interested in getting updates through the office on opportunity for input on what should we be thinking about on applications, what could potentially be considerations for project validity checkboxes, things of that nature, and then we'll have to go through a rulemaking process. So to your point, my goal is to get as much money out of the door before the end of 2026. That's the challenge, because I've got to go through the APA, I've got to go through the rulemaking process, I've got to accept comments, review comments, then we've got to open up our application window. Every application receives gets the same treatment. You can't just throw one in the trash. So it's gonna take some time to get money encumbered to projects. But just know that we have the same goal in doing it as quickly as possible. The challenge is executing on it.
Okay, so to reiterate, the governor has on his website is a link to Teneo.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yep.
And by going there, then submitting information, then that creates a database that you will use to disseminate information.
That's right. And we'll update the website along the way too, but if you're interested in getting information from Teneo when we're ready, probably, I'm thinking by the end of the year, you get on that email list and we'll start communicating that way and then come up with a plan to communicate other ways too.
Okay.
But if you're interested, please go give me your email, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think you'll get a few, yeah. So let me move you to the federal level for a second. So what regulatory or permitting obstacles must be addressed to facilitate advanced nuclear projects, and how is your office planning to work to overcome them?
Well, what I'd start to say is, if we even go back to when Governor Abbott was contemplating writing and directing Jimmy Goffelty to make the working group, the biggest conversation was it takes forever at the NRC. A year later, or whatever the right timing is, the Advanced Act passes. And I think that everybody in this room would agree the direction and pace in which we're headed right now is the right direction, it's the right speed. And then when we're working on House Bill 14 and trying to make sure that we're good stewards of Texas's money, and then shortly after, the DOE creates this pilot program. Everything's trending the right direction on the permitting side. So what's Teneo's role in that? One, relationships from the state level to the federal government level will be something that I'm going to make and dedicate myself to, because partnership amongst agencies, federal government, and stakeholders is my guiding light. Now, for the permitting coordinator, as I talked about earlier, we are not the NRC. We are not a regulatory body. We are here to help. We are a point of contact. You tell us what your project looks like and where you're looking at. We'll tell you, this is the local economic development corporation down there. This is Adriana Cruz over in Economic and Development Corporation. Oh, you need a permit at TCEQ? This is your contact at the Division of Air. You've got to go through NEPA. You've got to work with the Historical Commission. This is your person. A one-stop shop, again, an accelerator to get through the process. It's not an end around. You're going to do the same process as everyone else, but I'm going to help you step on the gas to get through it. So I think the federal situation, it's probably a limited role other than just being a good partner at the state level, identifying issues that we're hearing from projects here in Texas, seeing if there's opportunities to work through those with our partners as, the representative of the state working with the federal government on behalf of a project that is an awardee or something to that effect. But again, this office is to help you move at the speed that you want to move and not be hindered by the morass of the bureaucracy of state and federal government.
Do you have a counterpart in any other state that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge,
Good.
But I also have a lot to learn, so.
Yeah, I don't think you do, and we've seen over the last year, Jared, that for example, there's some northeastern states that are forming coalitions of multiple states, and the same thing is happening on the west half of the country, and it feels like these coalitions are building, how do we compete with Texas? And I don't think you have a counterpart in that, which is indicative of the leadership role that Texas is taking. Do you, kind of following up on that, do you envision, for example, going to Maryland and visiting directly with the NRC and establishing a relationship with that? Or
Absolutely.
What does that look like for you?
Absolutely. If you know me, I'm a big relationship guy. Yes. NRC, DOE, the national labs. Where are my partners is how I approach everything. I don't have a problem with other states wanting to compete. I just want to beat them. That's all I care about. But I want the industry to win because I believe in it being a part of the future.
Yeah. We served on the Texas Advanced Nuclear Work Group. Tennessee had the same thing, and I spoke to that group during our work, and of course they have Oak Ridge, so that's a one runner on base, and then they have the Tennessee Valley Authority, but they do not have the financial capability or the engineering or the energy history that Texas has.
And that's something that I really want to do a diligent job of doing, is identifying where are Texas's national labs. The Rellis campus, that's this Produced Water Consortium. Yep. Our talented, skilled workers, our higher education institutions, these are Texas's national labs. How do I leverage my national labs here in Texas so we all win?
Yep. Let's flip over to workforce development. So what do you see your role in workforce development, and whether you're working with the universities or maybe even all the way down through the school system, but what does that start looking like?
So it's a priority. It's going to be a main focus of the strategic plan, but I need help. I need help from those that are in the workforce development part of this conversation. Like I said, I have advisory committee authority with this office. I'd love to have a consortium of TWC, TEA, the Higher Education Board, the pickle people. Sorry. I've got all these great assets. I don't have to recreate the wheel. Why should I? I'm not even that smart. What I am good at is knowing the people that know what I don't know and making friends with them. And so that's what we're going to do with this office. So I'm going to need help.
Okay.
But the way I see it from a philosophical kind of standpoint is we're creating the opportunity for the future Texan by the investment and the focus on workforce development here. But what it's going to take, though, is the industry itself is going to also have to invest time and resources along with Teneo in the state of Texas, because we've got to move this conversation forward. We've got to create an action plan. Let's get to work. My job will be singularly focused on the nuclear industry side of that workforce development. And that is a broad category statement. But at least there's one entity in state government in Texas solely focused on the development of the nuclear energy industry in Texas. So kind of to your question, I don't know, but it's gonna be a priority and I'm gonna need help. And please, if you're interested in that space, just know, again, let's partner for, the advancement of what we're both after is, Texas and her people.
Well, I have to note that you mentioned the Pickle Research Center. That Jake Pickle was from my hometown of Big Spring, Texas. Didn't know if you knew that. Yeah, I'm looking at Julie Moore with Oxy here. Julie, I'm in the oil and gas business for quite a while. The industry, in that case, Texas oil and gas industry, Texoga, has always responded to the people in Austin, legislators, and so forth, saying we need this. And so you have with the Texas Nuclear Alliance a natural ally as you look at, I need workers here, I need input here, and you're going to have so I think the TNA as well as the, everyone that is engaged in trying to advance this and this whole industry in Texas is going to be a lot of resource to you.
Well, I hope so, because I need it. And I want Texas to compete and win on workforce development. So please engage with Teneo in that pursuit.
So we've got a couple of minutes left. So what is your final message, Director Shaffer, to Texas leaders, industry stakeholders, and the community about the next steps for securing Texas's future in advanced nuclear energy?
The time is now. It's now or never. Like, again, Winter Storm Uri brought me to electricity, so I'm new, but I also come with a fresh perspective, and I also carry the same passion about the policy area as many people in this room, I'm sure, do too. I kind of lost my train of thought. Remind me what the question? Oh, but the enthusiasm that is in this room, but even at the kitchen table with kids, now's the time to get to work. As Reed would like me to plug, time to build. Be optimistic, be ambitious, take risks. I know that this is, much of the challenge is going to be putting your neck out there a little bit further than what would be a diligent standard business practice. But this is the kind of entrepreneurial spirit we need right now to make this happen, to actualize the energy that we have right now. Because if we let this opportunity pass, I don't know if it comes back.
Yeah. Well, Director Shaffer, let me say on behalf of the Texas Nuclear Association and a growing industry, we're behind you, we're rooting for you, and thank you for taking this task on.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.